Hello, gentle viewers. This is Guardian welcoming you to a Let's Look at Draft Day Sports Pro Football 2022, produced by Wolverine Studios. In this video, I'm going to be showing off a single game, and I'm also going to be talking about how the game plays, and then I'll let you in the comments decide if, based on this video, you'd like to see me do a longer look at this game a little bit later on this year. I've already created a test league that I've helpfully named NFL Test, which is a good way to start by looking at the game. The footprint of this game is actually very, very small. If you have a underpowered computer or something like that, you're looking for a football game, this game isn't even like a gigabyte. It's like 350 megabytes or something like that, which is pretty solid. Also, the game does include the ability to use real NFL player names, although it doesn't include the real NFL player teams. Oh, you can pretty much figure out who is who, like the Cleveland Dogs, chortle, chortle, chortle. So, let's quickly talk about how the game works, and then I'll show you a game, and then I'll show you what it looks like in the offseason. So, the first and most important expectation you should have playing this game is that this is not a game about coaching. It is the opposite of the game that I covered late last year, Pro Strategy Football 2022. This is a game about being a general manager. You can coach games. Your options are a little bit limited in that regard. But that is not how this game works. You can coach, there's options to make coaching more effective, but at the end of the day, this is a game about building your roster. And as you can tell by the top part of my screen here, this is 2028. Actually just came off winning the Super Bowl last season with the Cleveland Dogs, which is pretty exciting. Before we talk about the game itself, let's talk about the league settings, because there are a whole host of options that you can make to make the game more real, less real, what have you. You can have smaller rosters, you can change the practice squad size, you can set a maximum level of experience on the practice squad, you can let people loot your practice squad. You can't change the playoffs once the season is started, so that's something to consider. You can have preseason games when the trade deadline happens. The game does not start out with Super Bowl as a championship name, by the way. You have to change that yourself. And there's some other things here that are pretty interesting. All of this is to say that there's a couple of things you're really going to want to consider to make the game more enjoyable. I don't know what hard mode does. I'm afraid to click on it, to be honest with you. Probably the most important one to make your game interesting, I'm not going to do it in this save, but it's something you can do, is right here. If you do not select for strict cap, it is ridiculously easy to sign a new draft pick. It's ridiculously easy to just go over the cap. In point of fact, if I click on my finances button here, you'll notice I am $151 million over the cap. Which is obviously not something that can happen in the real NFL. If I were starting this season over again, or starting from the very beginning, I would definitely be doing that. I would definitely turn on a strict cap, just to make the game a little bit more interesting. But yeah, that's one of the most important settings. It is a little bit buried, but it's an important one to consider as you're playing through your game. You have the Hall of Fame settings, you can control the league structure, and a number of other things as well. You click on Advanced Settings here, and this allows you a lot of control over the course of the game. You have the ability, let's say you're like, wow, fullbacks are really crappy this season. You can take all free agents that are fullbacks, and you can adjust their ratings, which is pretty interesting. I've got to say that it is an interesting look and really adds a little bit more flexibility to the game. So I'm not going to go over every setting. I just wanted to talk about that and especially point out that one specific, the one specific setting, hiding under financials, because otherwise it's really easy to blow past it. An important thing to consider when you start a new series, or new franchise rather, is that all the contracts are random. That's very, very important because, for instance, I had Baker Mayfield on a 5-year contract. Not in real life, he had a 2-year contract once the Browns executed his 5th-year option. So that's going to definitely affect the way you play the game, and it's going to make sure that your game is different than my game. Or even if I create a new save, for instance, I will have a different experience because different players will have different contracts. So let's talk about contracts. Like real-life NFL, all the contracts are not guaranteed. Which means I can release any player anytime I want with no repercussions. Of course, in the real NFL, there's things like cap penalties, and there's things like signing bonuses, all of which negatively affect the cap if you cut somebody too early. That is not a problem you're going to run into with this game, because all the contracts are always non-guaranteed. The only thing stopping me from cutting Baker Mayfield right now, besides the fact we just won the Super Bowl, is the fact that I'd have to click a couple of buttons. That's it. And while real NFL contracts are non-guaranteed, there's other things that make it a better or worse idea to cut somebody. What else do I need to talk about before I show you a game? There's a couple things I really like from this game that I really wish that something like OOTP would adopt for baseball. One of them is the training screen. This could not be any simpler, but I absolutely love it for being so simple. You get the option to set, you get a combination of 25 points that you can spend in order to develop your players. And this little question mark here very helpfully tells you what different things control. Note that coach focus only matters during training camp, but the rest of it matters throughout the season. And you can assign a combined total of 25 points. If you assign too little, they'll regress. And if you get up to 25, there's a better chance of injuries. So that is a really cool way to give you some control over your team. But you actually get another step of control if you want it. Let's suppose, for instance, you want your quarterbacks focusing entirely on quarterbacking and nothing else. I can hit create new schedule, and I can call this QBs only. And then I can save it. I can then set positional drills to 25 and set everything else to 0. I'll set everything to 0 first, and then I can set it to 25. No, apparently I can't do that. That's interesting. Oh, the most you can do any one skill is 10. Okay. I mean, you could still do this definitely, though. Like, I could focus on game tape and positional drills and maybe just a little bit of physical training. And then I can assign any quarterback the QB's only schedule, and he will train at that schedule. You can have as many training schedules as you want, and this is a super cool touch that I really like about this game. I like a lot of things about this game, but this is probably one of my favorite things that I like about this game. Next, let's talk about game strategy, because this is an important part of this game as well, even if you're not going to be coaching the team. You can definitely have a playbook of your heart's desire. There's nothing stopping you from making the perfect playbook. If you want that level of detail. I personally don't care, but You can make any playbook your heart desires. That's not what I'm interested in the strategy section, though. You click on custom playbook, you can set your playbook any way you want to. This is what matters even more. This helps set you up for how frequently you will either run or pass the ball. The bigger the number, the more likely you'll run. I think, or is it the bigger the number, the more likely... Oh, the bigger the number, the more likely you'll pass. So if we look at, say, my head coach, he's pretty pass-heavy. If you look at my offensive coordinator, he's much more geared to running the ball. Because I am the Cleveland Browns, of course, running the ball is a little bit better for me. And so I would definitely want to do that. But let's say I don't like either of these, right? I can hit custom and I can set this any way I want to. Which is, again, absolutely and utterly brilliant. I love everything about the level of customization that you have here. Now, it is important to note, as this helpful tooltip tells you, it does not mean in an absolute sense that I will pass the ball 66% of the time on 1st and 10. It increases it over a base level, but at a certain point, you're always going to run a certain number of times a game, or I was going to pass a certain number of times a game at a minimum, unless something very badly goes wrong. And this tooltip will remind you that. So if we look at maximum pass percentage, it looks like we can check. It's probably under advanced. I wonder what it is here. Okay. So if you look right here, it says run to pass ratio base is 42, up to 30, which would basically mean at most you can have 72% of your plays be pass plays. So if I set something to 100, that would mean that we would pass the ball 72% of the time and run it 32%, with different gradations in there. The relevant difference here is in blitz rate. The higher the number, the more you blitz. Again, that doesn't mean you blitz 100% of the time. And there's like a secret internal blitzing playbook, so that is something that can be quite helpful. But let's talk about game planning, and this is even more in depth. You can set up things using any one of a variety of different statistics and make the team run the way you want it to run. And it's different for every coach. If we look at Clifford Baumgartner, my head coach, why is it saying, oh, because there's nothing listed there. There you go. You'll notice he is very, very balanced. He likes throwing to Michael Thomas, and he likes using Nick Chubb all the time. If we go to Michael Wagner, he's a bit more conservative. He likes to slow down the pace of the game, but he still likes Michael Thomas and Nick Chubb. And I can also create my own game plan as I want to by just hitting create new game plan, and then I can set this any way that I like, which is really, really cool. Or the end game override, and this will basically force the game to change its position. If we're losing, we probably want to pass more. If we're running, we probably want to run more, etc., etc., etc. And you can make a new game plan for each and every opponent if that's what your heart desires. And it's pretty brilliant, in all honesty. And it really makes the game, it gives you, again, an extra layer of control. It cannot be overstated how much control you have in a very macro sense over how your team plays. Down to making an entire playbook from scratch, if that's what you want. If you want to make a playbook of entirely fullback runs, you have to make you have to have at least 10 runs and 10 pass plays, so the game won't let you make the playbook. But if you want to make 10 fullback runs and 10 halfback screens as your passes, you could theoretically not have any wide receivers, except for the roster minimums. But there's nothing stopping you from doing it, other than the fact you would lose every game. I feel pretty confident you could not win in the National Football League with 10 fullback runs and 10 halfback screens. At a certain point, they would just stop you, and you would be very bad. But I did want to make that additional point. And the last thing we'll talk about is the depth chart. And then we'll actually go ahead and talk about the game. By playing one. Very standard, very simple, drag and drop, or not drag and drop, drop down box playbook. You can go into the incredible detail of setting every formation the exact way you want it set. If you have a 2 tight end formation here, I can look at this and see what it looks like. Also, the pictures are basically completely random, which is why Baker Mayfield is black and Nick Chubb is white. Despite the fact in real life it's very, very different. Also, Wyatt Teller apparently gets his haircut by the same one who does all the stereotypical Karen haircuts, etc., etc., etc. But you can set your roster any way you see fit. And you can let your head coach run the offense. You can let your offensive coordinator run the offense. And you get to set these things any way you'd like to. Which is pretty good stuff. Again, super amount of customization here. I'm going to go ahead and actually show you what a game looks like. I'm not going to play the whole game, just because I just want this to be a nice overview. Once I've played probably at least the first quarter, I'll probably send the rest of it, and then we can go from there. Once we're done with this, I'm going to talk about the draft. I'm going to talk about free agency once we get to the end of the season. I'm just going to simulate the entire regular season at that point. So, click play and sim. And it's the Cleveland Dogs versus the New England Shield. Note the game favors New England by 3.5 points. In case you're wondering why is that like that, that is your standard home team boost. Other than that, the game is like, I have no idea how things are going to go. I have the sound turned off. You can control the animation, and you can control the play speed, how quickly the plays are executed. We're going to hit start. Let's pick tails. Damn it, you suck, New England. So, right away, you can turn off offense or turn off defense and just let the AI run everything during those particular plays. When I play Madden, for instance, I hate calling defenses because I feel like I'm never really in control with how the play goes. So I don't call defense when I play Madden. I can do the same thing here if I'd like. But I'm going to click kickoff, and the ball is kicked. Notice very, very simple graphics, not even to the level of Pro Strategy Football. Definitely no real physics. So, I now get to pick any play I want. I can change packages, and I can pick from my head coaches or my offensive coordinator's playbook. I pick from a formation here. Let's start off the game with a nice simple I formation run. I can pick... oh wow, there's literally no dive play under I formation. I think it's under Pro. Really, game? Really? Only sweeps? To go jumbo in order to get... Here we go, dive left. And I hit call play. And I got tackled for a 1-yard gain. Okay. It tells me what I called. It tells me what the defense called. Let's go ahead. And notice it automatically picks a new play. I don't have to run that play if I don't want to, but I can. Let's, for instance, go with a nice pass play. This is the play art, and it tells you who's going to go where. Let's try this out. And we got a nice completion for a first down. Nice work. You get a little bit of statistics here. You get a little bit of text here, which tells you how things are going. Let's try a screen. And it went for a pretty decent gain. I've called 2 passes in a row. Out of shotgun. Let's try a nice run out of shotgun just to keep them on their toes. And, oh dear. Nick Chubb fumbled the ball. And now I can call the defense. I can call 4-3. Oh, I literally only have... Oh, here you go. Yeah, we have 4-3, 3-4, nickel, all these different pass packages. I'm going to randomly pick a nickel play. Just because I think there's a good chance they're going to pass to start the game. Turns out I was right, and we tackled him for a 5-yard gain. And this is how every play works. You pick the play you want to call, you hit call play, and then you go from there. I don't really feel like calling the defense, so I'm going to hit the toggle. And it's showing them punting the ball, basically. At any point you want to, you can click on play-by-play, and it'll tell you how things have been going for you. It looks like here they kicked a field goal. Very important. If you click anywhere but this X button, it will actually send the rest of the game. So that may be something that you're concerned about. We're going to call a nice off-tackle run. And we get a decent-sized gain here. Good job, Chubb. And since I got such a big run, let's try a nice play-action pass. Keep him guessing, right? Oh, look at how wide open he was. That's brilliant. Look at that. Look at fucking that. That's the good shit right there. Call a pitch. And that play didn't work so well. That's alright. And that is how a game works. The only other strategy you can call during the game is you can go ahead and call a timeout. That's pretty much it. So again, comparing this to pro strategy football, there's a lot more options you have to make coaching adjustments during the game. I say this to remind you, this is not a game about coaching. This is a game about GMing. So make sure you have that in mind when you're looking for a new football game to play. I'm going to go ahead and set offense. And it basically just finishes the entire game. If we check the box score, we can see that the Cleveland Dogs got a narrow 1-point victory. Baker Mayfield wasn't super awesome, but he did throw for a lot of yards, and then Nick Chubb carried for 22 times, 96 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Defensively, we can see things like how many sacks we got. Looks like Owusu Koromoa got a sack, as did Miles Jack. Got a couple of hurries from, again, Miles Jack and this guy. And then there's no knockdowns this time. So our defense wasn't that great this time. No turnovers. We didn't get any fumbles. We didn't get any interceptions. Take that back. We did get 1 fumble. Actually, we got 2. And we recovered both of them ourselves, which is very cool. And that is what a game looks like. I can then close the window here, and it'll show all the stats, and then I can simulate the week. And I can see how the other teams did as well. Notice it completely develops every single game and gives you some pretty detailed stats. Where you can see things like the fact that Deshaun Watson was quarterback of the game despite the fact that he only got 7 points. Look at it. This is a game with no running attack whatsoever. If the leading rusher got 35 yards, this had to be against multiple defensive touchdowns, right? I'm curious now. 3 fumbles and 1 interception. Oh, Justin Herbert threw 2 touchdowns. And there was an interception return. Yeah, the reason Deshaun Watson got credit for being the better quarterback is because he threw for more yards, and that's all that looks at. But not a very balanced game. Both quarterbacks passed more frequently than they ran. But yeah, you can watch the highlights if you want to. And I want to talk about one other thing here, which is the email. One design decision I don't really like here. It's really hard to tell which emails are read and which ones are unread. Like, obviously, the ones that are unread are bolded. That's so really hard to read, though. At least it is for me. Their analytics here, I think they're trying to go off of Pro Football Focus. I have no idea what this means for the most part, though. Clearly a good game for Nick Chubb. And not a great game for most of my defenders. Some of them did well, like Owusu Koromoa, but a lot more of them just weren't that great this time. You can get some opponent scouting. You can see that, hey, look, Kansas City throws lots of passes. Who would have thought? You can see what people improved in during training and things like that. Let's now take a moment and talk about the different statistics that you need to know to understand how good your players are. I'm not talking about football stats, I'm talking about the football attributes. Let us look at our roster here. A little light bulb means that a player can be a mentor. I don't know what that actually means, though. Mentoring must have 5 years experience. I guess it helps everybody get better. So that's cool. We look at Baker Mayfield here. You'll notice, apart again from the ridiculous looking picture, because that is not remotely... This is another bug I don't like, by the way. This box gets stuck. And the only way to stop it is to pick a different player. And then go away. So, you can look at the different skills that they have. So we'll notice here, he's an overall of 91. He's got a pretty decent arm. He's really smart, and he's got good accuracy. He's not a top-tier accuracy by any stretch of the imagination, or top-tier arm strength, but he's good enough, right? He's good enough. He's relatively fast. He can even catch the odd ball. You can also look at their personality, what they're good at, what they're not so good at, and you can look at what matters most to them, which will help them figure out if they want to sign with you or not in the offseason. If we take a look at his stats here, we can tell he's done over the years. You'll notice he got hurt quite a bit in 2022 and 2023. He's got more durable, and he's had some okay seasons. Certainly not much to go like, oh my god, he's a Hall of Famer, but he's been pretty decent. Contracts are really cool. You have a lot of flexibility about how you offer them. So what you do first, you pick a position. I could sign him as a kicker if I wanted to. I can give him a certain role, which will mean that he'll take a little bit less money. I can pick his base salary. I can choose how I want to distribute it. No preference makes everything flat. And if you pick not needed, it's the same thing, basically. I don't know why those things are both in there. I can give him a bonus. If, for instance, if he throws 40 passing touchdowns, he can get 5% of his salary as a bonus. Which doesn't count against the cap. So you could make a very incentive-laden contract if you so wished, which is something you can't really do in OTP, which is something I'd like to see them add as well. So here I've got a bonus. You can only add one bonus, however, which is whatever. And then I could offer him this deal, and then he'll think about it. And then we'll figure out if he signs it or not. You'll notice some other stats are different, more important for other players. If I look at Nick Chubb here, and I look at his profile, you'll notice it shows the same ratings for everybody. For everybody. He's got pretty good speed, reasonably good hands, and he's a pretty good pass blocker. He's really strong, plenty of agility, and he's also very intelligent. He wants lots of playing time and lots of money, which we've been giving him pretty regularly over the course of his career. If I click on his, where is it under? It's under profile. No, it's not. It's under records. You can see that he has made all the Pro Bowls except for 2026 when he got hurt, and he was a 2027 playoff MVP. Last, let's look at a defensive player, because their ratings are a bit different, but still not that different. Let's look at Myles Garrett, who at least is black, so, you know, good job there. A two-time Defensive Player of the Year, and he's made the Pro Bowl every single season so far. He's been Player of the Game 28 times, and a two-time Player of the Week. During his career, he had 10 consecutive games with a sack. He doesn't have any like that for right now, though. If I look at his profile, He's really strong, pretty fast. He's a good tackler, and he's really smart. I could make him a quarterback. I don't think he'd be very good at it, given his lack of arm accuracy. So that is a bit less useful. He actually has decent hands, which is really interesting for a defensive end. You'll also notice that he has multiple skills. We could shift into linebacker if we really wanted to, although he wouldn't be as good, which makes sense. So that's what the players look like. He's even got decent arm strength, meaning we could theoretically make him like an emergency quarterback, which is just hilarious. Okay. I think that's enough about the different ratings. I'm going to go and sim the rest of the regular season so I can talk about the last couple things that I think we need to mention, which is how free agency works and which is how the draft works. So I'm going to sim the regular season. And just like that, in less than 5 minutes, an entire season is being simmed. We finished 12-4. I feel pretty good about our chances in the playoffs. Looks like we open up against the Las Vegas Express, aka the Raiders. And we won our wild card game. We're going to be facing the Kansas City Wolfpack, aka the Chiefs, in the League Division Championship round. And we defeated Kansas City. Very nice. I don't know whether it was a home game for them. Oh, probably because they won their division. Right? Wait, who won my division? Or did I win? What the heck? Yeah, I was the number 2 seed. Why was I hosting that second game? I should have been the home team. Anyway. Looks like it's us versus Tennessee for the AFC spot in the Super Bowl. And we were defeated. Alas. Alack. That's a bit of a bummer, I gotta say. But, you know what? It is what it is. And your 2028 Super Bowl champions are the Dallas Superstars, a.k.a. the Cowboys. Well done to Dallas. Well done. And we're just going to delete all of my emails. Notice this is another annoying thing about the interface I don't like. The emails are basically never read. They're just trapped. Season awards. I can pick anyone I want to be my season champion. I'm going to go with Hill because he had almost 5,000 yards and almost 50 touchdowns. That's a little bit more impressive than Lamar Jackson's year. So I'm going to pick him for offensive MVP. Defensive MVP. It's Myles fucking Garrett. The man had 73. No, it's got to be Myers. I mean, I could just make it Myles Garrett. I have that power. But no, that's actually fair. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Holy shit, he's a rookie and threw almost 50 touchdowns. That's pretty bonkers. Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm going to pick the guy who got 13 sacks. That seems pretty smart. In advance. They then pick the Pro Bowl rosters. And again, you have complete control over this. Baker Mayfield has never made a Pro Bowl, which does make me sad, but I'm also not convinced he deserves it. But Nick Chubb made it. Joel Bitonio did. Who else? Myles Garrett and Minkah Fitzpatrick, who I got through free agency. And there you go. Again, nothing stopping me from adding anybody I want to the Pro Bowl, but I generally would just accept whoever got it. But I felt that something was particularly unfair, then maybe I would do a thing. The Americans, the AFC won the Pro Bowl. Of course they did. Congratulations to the AFC. And the season is now complete. So, You then get to sign your coaching if you want to. There's only 3 coaches in the game. You have your head coach, you have your offensive coordinator, and you have your defensive coordinator. Plus yourself as general manager. You can get fired, by the way. So that is an important thing to think about. We do need to sign a defensive coordinator. And I'm going to pick Sean Billingsley because he's a 4-star coach. I can look at his profile, though, if I want to. Yeah, he's a really good defensive coach. So let's get Sean Billingsley and offer him a big fat contract to be my guy. And then you advance. And you basically just get to find out whether or not they sign with you through your email. He doesn't like the contract, so we're going to give him more money, assuming he's still available. And he is. Certain defensive coordinator, Sean Billingsley, and I'm going to offer you $9 million. He'll be higher paid than my head coach, but I could promote him to head coach down the line if I so wish. I advance another week, and I'll get another email that'll tell me what he thought of my offer. Nope, he really doesn't like it. That's unfortunate because I didn't sign him during the first 2 weeks. Oh no, I did actually get him. Nice. Oh, I bet he sent a second email and I just missed it. Yeah, he didn't send an email to say he did it. Restricted free agency doesn't work. I think it's because I didn't set it correctly in the league settings. In fact, I bet if I take a look here, I turned it off. Look at financials here. Yeah, it's enabled, but for whatever reason, there's never anybody in restricted free agency. So I'm wondering if that maybe just doesn't work correctly, or what the deal is. But yeah, it never works. I've never seen anybody in the restricted free agency thing. Okay. So it's going to skip past that. That's not really going to matter. And done. We're now in proper free agency. And the way free agency works in this game is a little bit weird, but it's kind of nice. It's very interesting. So we're going to bid on free agents, and we're going to find ourselves an amazing free agent. Patrick Mahomes is a free agent. What do we actually need? Let's take a look at our depth chart. Who did we lose in free agency? I'm sure we lost some people here. We could use a new fullback. I need a wide receiver. And I need a tight end. My offensive line looks great. Yeah, tight end would be good. Wide receiver would be good. I need a defensive tackle. And I need a defensive end. I need a linebacker. I need everything, basically. So let's just pick... I'm just going to pick a guy just for the sake of picking a guy. I'm going to start a new franchise with this at some point anyway, so whatever. So I come down here, I can clear all the positions. It'll take a minute to update the chart, and I can say, give me a defensive end. So I could pick, say, Montez Sweat. He's the best defensive end on the market, and it says, this is what I want. Something in this range. I then get to set them. I then get to set it any way that I want to. Let's say I want something heavily front-loaded. I want to give him 4 years. And I'm going to give him a bonus. If he gets, let's say, 10 sacks, he gets a 5% boost to his salary. And I'll submit the offer. Now, the thing that people complain about, and it is an extremely fair complaint, by the way, is that you don't instantly get feedback. I've never had a problem signing free agents, so maybe this is just something that I haven't experienced. But it is an important thing to keep in mind, is you don't get automatic feedback. You have to sit a day, and then either they'll sign or they won't. And eventually they'll tell you for sure. While we're here, let's get ourselves a wide receiver. Get ourselves some Deebo Samuel action. I'm just going to give him whatever he wants. And we definitely need a defensive tackle. That may be the most important thing we get. Hi, Rory. I would like you to be a Cleveland Brown for a very long time. And done. So then I hit complete day. And it'll list everyone that signed. Click again. I still haven't had any signings. So if you want to figure out who they actually like, you click on the player. And it says your offer is currently leading, is the leading offer. If you look at free agent report, it'll tell you who's offered the best. The big problem here is it doesn't tell you what they find lacking in your offer. Eventually, they'll just reject all open bids and you'll get a chance to go again. There's 6 initial rounds and then there's some more after the draft. I'm going to hit complete day. Still haven't had anyone sign yet. All the contracts are still there. Still no signings. They're being coy with me. I did get an email, however. Okay, so I actually did get involved. I did get noted here. Rory Perea took a 1-year deal for $20 million. That's pretty stupid, my dude. But I get it. I get it. I'm not mad. I'm very mad. You're a piece of human garbage, but, you know, I can't stop you. We need to find a new defensive tackle now. Oh, Vernon Coley. I'm gonna make you a key player. You're gonna be a big deal for the Browns and hope that carries you over the threshold. Still haven't signed anybody yet. And you'll notice that now it's grayed out. That's because it's now time to start scouting in advance of the draft. The free agency system is okay. It is interesting because it's very, very user-friendly. But it's also more difficult sometimes because you don't know why people turn you down. You get no feedback whatsoever. Unlike an OTP where at least they'll say, you know, I want more money or whatever. And that is a little bit frustrating. And I can see why some people don't like free agency. Let's talk about the draft. The NFL draft is an incredibly important part of the game, and we're going to come up here and scout. I have 150 scouting points. I have no earthly idea where this comes from, other than whatever percentage of your payroll doesn't go to your roster. But it's pretty simple. You either get to interview someone or you get to scout them. If you interview them, you get to know about their personality. If you scout them, you get more certainty about what their stats are. So we're just going to start looking at positions here. None of these top 10 guys are going to fall to me, obviously. Let's look at guys in the first round. Remember, I couldn't get a defensive tackle, so maybe David Wilson from UCLA is the perfect player for me. I always do both. It is 5 points to interview, I think, and 10 to scout, or maybe it's 10 to scout and 5 to interview. Maybe it's 5 each. We also do need a wide receiver. Let's talk to Ronnie Seymour. 5 points. 5 points. Let's look at round 1, 2. And again, DTs, University of Alabama at Birmingham. Mr. Weinstein from Clemson. Dennis Story from LSU. Again, you can get as involved in this as you'd like. You can click on a player's name and see their initial stats here, and that might help you decide if you want to scout them or not. Notice it cost me less points here. If we go to round 2, Stanford, it's 5 and 8. Oh, I guess it does increase over time the more people you scout. Just get some wide receivers scouted, and of course, defensive tackles. Now, maybe you decided, I really need a defensive tackle in this draft quite badly. You can just go by position and then pick every single player that you might ever want to scout, which is really cool and offers you a lot of control over who you're going to acquire. And I can't do any more scouting. I then go up here to the top here, and I hit scouting. You get a 10-round mock draft if you're so inclined. We have this very, very silly draft screen where they'll randomly say things about stuff, which is kind of a neat touch. You then need to go, you can click on next human pick, and we're just going to really quickly do the draft here. Here it says I need a QB, fullback, tight end, DT, and so far. It says Robert Hawthorne is the best player that's available. Let's go to our war room and actually make our pick. So you'll notice my head coach, my offensive coordinator, my defensive coordinator all have opinions. They both say I should take Anthony Golden. My offensive coordinator says I should take Eric Christensen. No, I didn't scout any of these players, so all I can look at is over here. He's really strong, really fast, and a great run blocker. That's a pretty good choice for a tight end, all things considered. His hands are pretty bad, though. But that could always get better over time. If we look at, say, Anthony Golden, he's pretty strong, really good agility, decent speed, an okay tackler, and he's got really good technique, he's really smart, and he's got all the intangibles, but as a raw athletic specimen, not so exciting. Lastly, there's Robert Hawthorne, just as for an argument here. He's really slow. He's got D- ranked speed, although you'll notice that my scout here is telling me he is really fast. So somebody's lying to me here. I'm just not quite sure who. I'm going to take, because we need defensive linemen quite badly, I'm going to take Golden. I'm going to hit draft player. And then we can go to the next human pick. So I have 3 different suggestions here, which is interesting. I have a QB from my offensive coordinator, I have a tight end from my head coach, and I have a linebacker from my defensive coordinator. Peter Pierce has a 2nd and 3rd round grade. What do we know about Mr. Pierce here? He's really strong, has great agility. He looks like an athletic freak, which is awesome, right? He is a physical specimen that we can really get behind. But he's got really bad technique. So he's a bit of a project. Let's take Peter Pierce. Yes. Well, notice this head coach really likes this particular tight end. I don't know what's so great about him, but if my head coach thinks that highly of him, he seems kind of average to me, but I'll take him. I want people to be happy. Notice, obviously, you can take a lot more time with this than I am taking, but this is just for me showing you how the game works. 2 different people want me to take a defensive tackle, and I haven't taken one yet. So let's do it. They want me to take Matthew Mull. He is round 4 or 5 graded. I think this is round 4. If we go to the show... Yeah, it's round 4, so he's a pretty good choice. I have not talked about trading, and there's an important reason for that. It's really not very good. After the draft, I'll show you how a trade might work. I've never actually delved into the trading system that deeply because I've just found it to be really underwhelming. The way that the information is presented to you, but, you know, we definitely need defensive tackles. Oh, I can't pick him because I'm not eligible to. I probably need a fullback. I don't have one. But I'm not going to waste a draft pick on one if they're all going to be undrafted. Quarterback. Yeah, we can take Dwayne Lorenzo. That's a great name. The game really wants you to take this fullback. I don't know why, but the game is like, oh my god, take the fullback. I'm going to take another tight end. I'm just going to fuck with him. It's a 7th round, guys. If I'm seeing people with 3rd round and 4th round grades, I'm definitely going to consider it. Let's get David Hickey. You always need more cornerbacks. Draft is over. Hooray. I can then go to my roster, and I can look for everyone with 0 experience, and we can find out how good our draft was. So Dwayne Lorenzo was a pretty brilliant choice. The rest of our draft class, mediocre to actively bad, but Dwayne Lorenzo was a 5th round pick, and he actually looks like he could be a serviceable quarterback. He's certainly not brilliant. He definitely needs some polish, but we at least got a pretty decent backup, and that's always a good thing to see. Let's last but not least talk about trading. So, what we do is we need to pick a team to trade with. Notice you don't get to see the trade block first, you have to pick a team first. So we're going to pick, say, the Philadelphia Hawks. I can trade for a draft pick. I can trade for one of their kickers. Let's say I want their 1st round pick. And I will offer them... Oh, you can have... Let's say Joel Bitonio. I hit submit trade offer. And it just tells me they want a lot more. Which is fair. It's a 1st round draft pick. What if I offer you Baker Mayfield? A lot more. They really don't want to give up their 1st round draft pick. And that's pretty understandable. They're pretty important. And I can just keep trying until I find a deal that does work. What I don't like is I don't like the lack of an ability to say shop for a player, and I especially don't like being able to look at not being able to look at the entire trade block at one time. That is really not great, and I find it a bit frustrating, to be honest with you. Because otherwise I just have to basically guess. Like, let's say for whatever reason, I am just absolutely fed up with and want to get rid of... Benjamin Lewandowski. How about a 6th round pick? Can I get that, Philadelphia? Yes, I got a 6th round pick. Great. And then I can turn around and try other things. I guess the trade interface isn't bad, but I think it's really underdeveloped. And especially, the AI will never trade with you. That's a big thing. What I mean by that is the AI will never make a trade proposal to you. And that's a missed opportunity, I think. I get why it's not there. It takes a lot to code a trading AI. But I kind of wish that was in there. And it doesn't tell you what they are looking for. I just have to guess, basically. I could look at their team and look at all the different overalls and make an informed decision that maybe if I offer Michael Thomas, I could get their first round pick. Let's just try it for funsies. And it didn't work. They're just like, nope, I'm not giving you a first round pick for Michael Thomas, which is fair. Which is fair. But, so it's not a bad system. I guess now that I'm exploring it a bit more than I had the first time I played it, I like it a little bit better. But I just think it's a little bit bare bones. Maybe intentionally. The reason I say maybe is if you're a fan of the NFL, you know that trades just don't happen that often. This past offseason was really weird because a bunch of big-name quarterbacks changed teams. You had Carson Wentz go to the Colts. You had Matt Stafford go to the Rams. And there's one other quarterback I'm just blanking on right now that was also part of a trade to make a big deal. Sam Darnold. That's right. That was a weird trade that didn't really work out for Carolina. But anyway. That's what you're looking at. In terms of big, meaningful trades. You also get a lot of trades during the draft. You also get people trading up, trading down, what have you. But trades are just not as important to the NFL as they are to Major League Baseball. The average baseball team is probably going to make 10 to 15 trades a year. There are NFL teams that won't make 5 trades in a year. I'm not even counting about like just minor league level trades, which really gets things up quite a lot. It's just not a big part of the game. Partly because of the way salary cap works in the NFL, whereas if you trade a player, you're on the hook for whatever part of their salary is signing bonus or whatever. You get penalized, basically. So that's it. That is Draft Day Sports Pro Football 2022. I wanted to share some final insights and then leave it to you in the comment section to let me know what you think about the game and whether you'd like to see me actually do like a proper series of this. The engine seems really, really realistic and strong. Unlike, say, Madden, where part of the game, okay, fine, you're actually playing the games, where stats can get a bit silly. If I take a look at, let's say, Nick Chubb's stats from the previous season. So let's look at Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb had 345 carries and about 1,500 yards. The carries are really ridiculously high. You would, in real NFL, you would never want to see that many carries by a running back because they're going to wear down over time. But everything else here is pretty realistic. I mean, maybe the running touchdowns is a bit high. But this is a season I could see Nick Chubb having if the Browns decided, you know what, fuck you in particular, you're going to run the ball 340 times. If I look at, say... let's look at Benjamin Barella, our #1 tight end from last year. He had no rushing yards. What a loser. I'm just kidding. He was targeted 81 times, got 53 catches, and got 461 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 3 catches a game. That's pretty realistic for a young tight end. That's not a featured part of the offense. If I take a look at, say, Michael Thomas. He had 139 targets, 82 catches for 1,000 yards. That's a really bad catch rate. I don't know that I would want him catching that often because he's actually not doing that much with the ball when he catches it. But he's kind of a volume receiver, and he had a 42-yard pass play. Made first downs on 58% of his plays. That's pretty bonkers. That's actually a really good sign. If I look at, say, Denzel Ward, where are you, my dude? 66 tackles, none for a loss. He was targeted 133 times, a lot of catches 76% of the time. That's actually really, really good. 4 misses? What are the, like, blown coverage? Like, how many times he got burned on blown coverage? But 6 interceptions and 23 passes defended is pretty damn good, actually. So, the stats, the point I'm trying to make is the stat engine works really well. It's very realistic. Injuries happen, and you deal with them, and if you deal badly with them, your team tends to suffer. The player model is very easy to understand. It's easy to see how certain players could get better or get worse. You can take a look at a player, and you can look at their progression, and it tells you how they get better over time. Like, I don't care about his hands. How do I get it to show or remove things here? It says click on any in the key. I don't know what you're talking about here. What? Maybe because it's a defender, I can't see. But I can see how he's gotten better over time, right? But it's pretty cool. I can look and see how it's strengthened. I would very much like a better color scheme, though. Make it a little easier to see, but regardless. So the progression model works pretty well. To give you a sense of somebody actually drafted, let me take a quick look here. Where is someone that I drafted? I don't think I drafted Roy Thomas. I think I acquired him. Yeah, he was drafted by the Washington Tanks. Who is someone I actually drafted? Jerry Perkins. Here's an example of a guy I drafted. 4th round kicker. You can see all the different things they do here. You can see how many contracts they signed for. Pretty exciting stuff here. Pretty exciting stuff. So the player model is really good. The stats are all pretty realistic. They're within the bounds of what you would expect. Along with a few surprises every now and again. And you do see players get better over time, but it's not always very dramatic. An example of that is Gerald Bowman here. I drafted him in the 1st round. If you look at his progression, it's actually pretty flat. He is getting better at pass blocking, however, which is a pretty important thing for a right tackle to get better at. He's getting stronger. He is a little bit more agile. He's got pretty decent speed for a tackle, actually, which is kind of surprising. Good pass blocking. That's getting better. He hasn't really made too many waves, though. He's just been okay. But a guy like Harold Owens, on the other hand, when I drafted him, was a little bit worse and has actually gotten better over time. Actually, no, he's exactly the same. I'm lying to you. Surely there's somebody that I've drafted at some point that's gotten significantly better. But apparently not. It's whatever. Anyway, so I do like that. I do wish... It's rare to see drafted players get significantly better. You don't get the... what's it called? The talent change thing from, like, OOTP. Where you can have somebody come out of nowhere and be, like, an amazing prospect. You don't really get that in this game. They generally tend to make incremental improvements over time. Where they do get better... But it takes them a while to get better. Like, if you have someone for 10 seasons, you might finally start noticing some pretty big improvements. If we look at my kicker, he's now rated 78. You can notice over time here that, say, his His kick distance has gotten better. His accuracy is about the same. He's gotten better, but he's not like a massive megastar. The real value of the draft in this game, if you don't get like a really great draft, is you get people for a long time on a cheap contract. And that's the most important thing. Contracts in this game are a bit ridiculous, I have to say. You get way too many players getting ridiculous contracts where they really don't deserve them. Like, for instance here, if we take a look at my top salaries, these are all the fairly good players, and then you get Michael Thomas, who admittedly has aged. Oh no, Michael Thomas is great. What am I talking about? Roy Thomas is maybe a bit better of an example, who makes $16 million and is just a good wide receiver. But yeah. The contracts, like I said, they're a little bit ridiculous. I think they could definitely drop a bit for certain things. But then again, if you don't like the contracts, you can just change them. You can adjust what you think a more reasonable range would be. And again, I'm $82 million over the cap, which would never happen in the real NFL. They'd make you cut people. Which is one thing that maybe makes these high contract values a little bit more damaging, because it really stops you from making a quality team that can last year in and year out. But it is what it is, and it's something you want to consider as you play through the game. I love the training model. I love it so much. I know other games like, say, Football Manager have it. But OOTP, can you please add it? Please. Even if it's just something very, very basic, where I can assign each of my coaches to look at one player. Like, maybe I assign Jack Leiter as a pitching coach, and I tell Jack Leiter, spend every waking moment with Nate Brooks. Make him the very best pitcher he possibly can. That would be so cool. It'd give you a little extra layer of authenticity, because that's what happens in real life, right? The manager or the general manager would tell the third base coach, hey, I've been noticing that Miles Straw is getting picked off too frequently. Can you talk to him about it? Have him work through some scenarios, watch some tape, etc. And that's even more important in the NFL. That's even more important. Because in the NFL, every game it matters. Like, yeah, every game matters in the grand scheme of things in baseball too. But not to the same degree that it is in the NFL. The NFL is 17 games in every season. Just 17, not counting playoffs. The difference between going 16-1 and 17-0 isn't huge. But between going 10-7 and 9-8 could be between making the playoffs and missing the playoffs. And so game-to-game variance matters a lot more. And so in the NFL, let's say I notice that I watch a lot of tape of Baker Mayfield and he's having a really hard time seeing his second or third read when he's dropping back to pass. I can order one of the quarterback's coach. I don't know who the quarterback's coach is for the Browns, sadly. I can have the quarterback's coach sit down with Baker and go over film and have him run some drills in practice so that he ideally gets better at that particular thing. It's awesome that that is in this game in a very abstracted way that doesn't make it cumbersome at all. I could come up with an individualized training plan for every single player on my roster if that is what I would like to do. To have that level of control is fan-fucking-tastic. I love it. It's super cool. And I wish that OOTP had something to that level as at least optional, right? It's at least optional. I think that's all I really had to say. I will add that the actual factual gameplay, like actually playing a game in this, is really boring to me. I don't find it very compelling. I don't find it as interesting as I would find, say, pro strategy football, because you literally call the play and that's it. I can't do the little things to help my team. I can't even tell my quarterback, hey, change your primary read. I can't scheme to the point where I can't say, hey, their opposing cornerback, their second cornerback is a rookie, and he looks really dodgy. I would like you to target him a little bit more when you're throwing the ball. I can't control how often people get subbed in and subbed out. That's maybe a little bit of a bigger problem. You can do it to a certain degree, but I can't tell them, slow your roll on Nick Chubb. Stop making him rush the ball 300 times a season. He's going to get hurt. I can't do that. I can say, go into strategy, and I can assign, I go to game planning, I can make my own game plan, and I can tell them, hey, I want you to sign Craig Beasley as your third down back. And I can say backfield by committee. Whoever has the best hand or whatever. I need to be able to control the fatigue a little bit better. In my opinion. It's not a huge deal, but it is. Actually, I guess you can tell to target a specific player. That is actually pretty cool. Okay, I didn't realize that was even in there. That's actually quite nice. You can do man coverage, etc., etc., etc. And that's the option that you have there. So with like that granular level of control, especially over running backs, where I can say, give this player X percentage of the snaps, this player Y percentage of snaps, this player Z percentage. It would make the depth chart a little bit deeper, and it would help you really get your thumbprint on top of a game. So overall, what's my verdict? I really like this game on the balance as a really good football general manager game. I can clearly see areas in which they need to do better, but what they have now is pretty fucking solid given the studio and given the resources at their disposal. The number one thing that needs to be added to this game, please, I'm begging you, give me autosave. Let me turn it off if I don't want it, but I should never have to remember to save the game or I lose all my progress. Just add autosaves, please. Even if you just save it like once a season, that would be pretty great. So if there's anything that would really make this game more enjoyable for me, that would be it. But yeah, I want to thank you for watching. I hope this little preview of this game has given you something to think about whether you might want to buy a copy of it. I got this game as a gift, so thank you, Graph, if you're watching. That was really kind of you, and it was a great game, and I'm really happy that I got it. Do let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to see me actually do a franchise with this. I'll tell you point blank, I will not play the games individually. I think it's a little bit too dull. And unless I just talk about like football strategy in a very broad sense as I did it. But I think I just find it too dull. And you can get through a season really fast. Like you can just sim an entire season in like 5 minutes. But then you would bog down a bit making off-season decisions. I'd play with a strict cap, etc., etc. If it's something you'd like to see, let me know. But until then, this has been Avguardian. Thank you for watching, and I bid you Good day.